In a rare admission, Israel has admitted to striking Iranian military targets in Syria. 11 people were reportedly killed in these strikes. The IDF say this was in response to a surface-to-surface rocket that the Iranian forces allegedly fired towards Israel on Sunday, which was intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system. Now, the Israeli military says their jets struck munition storage facilities, an intelligence site, and a training camp. So joining me now to further discuss, former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Mike, thanks for being with us today.
Sure.
So the Israelis claim that that the Iranians smuggled this mid-range surface-to-surface missile into Damascus with the intent to as a premeditated attack on Israel. First, does this sound legitimate to you? And given that the Iranians know that Israel has the Iron Dome, why would they do something so brazen?
Well, that's the only report that I've ever heard is what you just cited, and that with no corroboration whatsoever. You got to keep in mind that the Israeli, that the alleged Iranian attack was in response actually to a prior Israeli attack on Syria. So basically the Israelis started the whole thing by firing rockets at their sites inside of Syria. So what this indicates is a very rapid escalation that's occurring, and Netanyahu himself has basically stated that that he's only going to intensify. And I think that this is also a prelude to something even more serious in terms of probably creating even greater uncertainty and conflict within the region itself, and it can happen very rapidly.
Right. Right now, it's a very fragile situation,
yes,
as we know. But over the last several years, we know that Israel has carried out hundreds of strikes against Iranian targets and what they say are Hezbollah targets in Syria. So this new action, very overt, is this potentially going to lead to now an overt confrontation between Iran and Israel?
Well, it's clearly becoming such. You've got, I think the only thing dampening that is Russia trying to keep things in check, but it's quickly getting out of hand because of the intensified Israeli attacks. And you have the Syrians now reacting by shooting down the missiles. And if the Israelis begin to bring in aircraft and start attacking targets directly, I think this will be, particularly with the Russian presence there, it's going to really escalate into something much greater, and it's already becoming that. But what the Israelis failed to point out was that their response was one in which they started and based upon that attack, but the Iranian attack was based upon a previous attack. So you can see how it's just escalating and it's intensifying. And if this is happening on a daily basis, I dread to think what's going to happen by the end of the week.
Well, everyone has said for a very long time, international spectators as well as those who work within various administrations and here and who are on the ground say that this is obviously a proxy war, and it's been a proxy war for Iran and Israel for many years now. How does a full-on confrontation between those two countries, how does that play out? Is it finally out of Syria?
It could easily get out of Syria into Lebanon, particularly with Hezbollah targets also being targeted within Syria. Okay. And Israel shows a determination to actually intensify, to provoke even greater
they're not
damage.
De-escalating.
They're not de-escalating whatsoever. In fact, they're doing just the opposite.
So it would spill out of Syria
into... It could easily spill out of Syria. And if that happened, I think what Netanyahu's attempting to do is drag the United States in, and that's what I'm really concerned about.
And now, meantime, over in Afghanistan, we want to add in one more thing here. More than 100 Afghani security forces were killed in a blast today. The Taliban is claiming responsibility. It's the second attack in just the last few days. What do you make of what's going on in Afghanistan?
Well, it just shows the Taliban is just demonstrating that it's in control. It controls over 50% of all the provinces, whereas back in 2001, the United States and the government that it installed there basically had defeated the Taliban. But it shows now that that Taliban is in a position to dictate the terms. Even though in Qatar there is a meeting that's supposed to be going on between them and the U.S., but Taliban has made it very, very clear they have no intention of coming to any resolution as long as U.S. number one is in Afghanistan, and number two, as long as the puppet regime, as they call it, installed by the United States, remains in effect. So it looks like it's going to be continuing, and the Taliban is only going to intensify that. And I think they intensified their attacks only because of the Qatar meeting, and that's not going to result in any resolution whatsoever.
Mike, I think you summarized it best. I think everything is ramping up in the Middle East, so we will certainly check back with you to fill us in with all the latest on that. Thank you, as always, Mike Maloof.
Pleasure.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.